Thank you. So this case that's before you for consideration today is a case about some very young lawyers in very small firms that took on a case that very few of us would even dream of taking to trial or even filing. The plaintiff was from an underrepresented minority community and would have never gotten his day in court if it wasn't for this small, scrappy team of lawyers. This is an employment case. It's a wrongful termination case from a low wage earner who was taken advantage of by a large corporation and wrongfully terminated due to his disability. The plaintiff, Mr. Abarca, was an extremely hard-working guy. He emigrated here to the United States from Mexico in the 1980s. He's the kind of guy that has, woken up at 5 a.m. every day since he was 10 years old to work. He raised 6 daughters here in the Los Angeles area. Many of them have gone on to Berkeley, UCLA, higher education. And he was 61 years old at the time of his termination. He worked in the garment industry and he did manual labor like he had done for his whole career. And he sustained a shoulder injury on the job. He was placed on workers' comp and he was terminated under suspect circumstances. And of course, the reasons for termination given by the company were pretext. So there was very little economic damages to speak of. And so many of you are probably thinking, why in the world did this team take this case to trial? Well, they took the case to trial, as you probably surmised, because the offer was $0. This case, they litigated for 8 years through the trial and appellate courts. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the lawyers involved here. Dan Kramer, the lead trial lawyer on the case, was about a 7 or 8 year lawyer at the time of this jury trial. Teresa Johnson with the firm was a 2nd-year lawyer. The Burgis team went to law school with Dan. They went to Southwestern. They were about the same generation, 7, 8 year lawyers. They were up against a really high-powered, top-notch Ivy League trained defense firm that, again, fought them every single step of the way and offered $0 all the way up through the end of the case. Now, consider this. This was Dan Kramer's first employment case ever. I didn't say trial, I said case. So you can imagine he's reading the employment law jury instructions for the first time ever as he's getting ready for this trial. So the case was filed in 2013 and it was finally resolved earlier this year. The case went to jury verdict and then it went through 2 separate appeals. One on the underlying judgment, and the second about the attorney fee entitlement. The 2 firms spent well in excess of 3,000 hours litigating this case, over $150,000 in costs. And can you imagine, and by the time the Burgis firm filed this case, they were 4 or 5 year lawyers. Dan Kramer had started his own firm as a 4th-year lawyer, never having worked as a plaintiff's lawyer before, reading David Ball and Rick Friedman and going to seminars trying to figure out how to try plaintiff's cases. And they went 8 years without getting paid on this case, shelling out money to keep it going. The trial in the case lasted about 3 weeks through 2 phases. The verdict in the case included not only compensatory damages, and it was low, about $100,000 compensatory award, because it wasn't a big damages case. But the jury found that this company was guilty of punitive damages and awarded $550,000 in punitive damages. Now, the case, fees were awarded afterward. The case went up on appeal. And the total amount that was collected this year, the materials on this is off, but it's double what's reflected in the materials. $2.58 million was recovered for this gentleman in the form of compensatory, punitive, attorney's fees, and interest. the entire amount of the judgment was paid. And some of the other obstacles that this team dealt with during the case was that multiple entities filed amicus briefs on the appeals: the League of California Cities, the California State Association of Counties, the California Building Industry Association, the California Business Roundtable, and the former Republican California Insurance Commissioner, Stephen Poizner, all opposing this team in their work. This case has had an impact on the garment industry. This is well known within the LA community. This verdict sent a message to the community that you can't take advantage of disabled low-income workers, and if you do, there's consequences. Now, before I conclude, I just want to say a couple of things about the lead trial lawyer in this case, Dan Kramer. I alluded to earlier, he launched his own firm 4 years out of law school. But Dan, as you all know, is a member of the board of CAOC. You may not be aware of all the things that he's doing throughout the community. He is the current president of the Los Angeles Trial Lawyers Association. He's led the expansion of that organization to Orange County. He's going to do it to San Francisco next year. He's also a member of ABOTA. He's on the board of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. He's co-founder of the personal injury section. He's also on the Southwestern Alumni Board of Directors, the vice president, going to be the president in 2023. And he's a frequent lecturer and speaker. This is the quintessential case. So when this award was created, it was intended to go to recipients like this legal team: small firms, young lawyers prevailing against long odds through hard work, persistent, and brilliant legal work.